Good afternoon and welcome to this presentation. My name is Mike Hopkins. I want to talk to you a little bit about War Artist Records and what you guys can do to become a bigger part of the music scene in Rexburg and to really expand not only your business but the influence that you have in the community. Rexburg is a small town in southeast Idaho and there are not a lot of people here. Businesses have difficulty sometimes finding things to do, new ways to approach the audiences that they have. And today what I want to do is I want to talk to you about how you can increase your influence in this town. Just because there aren't a lot of people doesn't mean that you can't affect that small number of people that are here and that can really find a lot of ways that they can be benefited by your company. So since you understand kind of the direction that you want to go in with War Artist Records being a record label and a promoter, I want to talk to you a little bit about Rexburg and the regional area that you're in right now and how you can influence that area. So the first thing I want to talk about is the influence of students in Rexburg. Okay? Rexburg was made into a 4-year university in the year 2000. Before that, it was only a 2-year college called Rex College. And with this change to the university, a huge influx of students came in. As we can see on this chart, in 1990, the population was around 14,000, with a really slow and steady increase to about 17,000 people living in Rexburg, total population in the year 2000. Once it was turned into a university, we can see a huge amount of growth here, jetting up to 26,500 people in 5 years. And then we've seen another steady increase to just under 29,000 people in the 2010 census. So the student impact is massive. And what does this mean to you? This means that your market is different than what it was before. Before, when it was a college, there weren't a lot of students here, and they may have made up a percentage of the population, but not a large portion. Now, almost half of the people living in this town are going to be students that attend BYU Idaho. So I want to talk to you about how you can reach those people, that market, and what you can do. Here, actually, I have a chart that shows the population of students as opposed to everyone else in the city of Rexburg. And as you can see, it's well over half. That's a really impressive statistic, and to have such a key demographic be so specific, young men and young women between the ages of 18 to 21 through 25, it's something that you have to look at, because if they're overlooked, a lot of your business is gone. So we're going to focus on that right now. Like I mentioned before, Rexburg is a small town, and there's a lot of college kids here, and they have the same question: what do I do? What do I do with my time? What do I do when I'm not in class? What do I do when I'm not, at my extracurricular dodgeball activity or whatever? What are some activities that we have? There are movie theaters. There are a few parks. But as you know, in Rexburg in the winter, it starts to get really cold really fast. And so the demand for indoor venues and things to see and do in Rexburg changes rapidly. And the music industry, the music scene in Rexburg is one of the most important parts of something that these kids can have to do. So first of all, it's something that they can go to. They can go to Sammy's, they can go to Shakeout, they can go to other venues in Rexburg and see a band play, one of your bands on your record label. That's huge. That's really important for students to have that to do. Another thing is that it really helps them have a sense of community. When they know the bands that are playing in their town, it kind of gives them the sense of like, hey, I know who these people are. They can talk to their friends about it. If those bands tour regionally, if they go down to Utah, if they go to Nevada, if they get really big and start touring in California, maybe even to the East Coast, they're going to have a sense of, that was a Rexburg band. Not an Idaho Falls band, not a Utah Provo band, but a Rexburg band. So that's something that we can focus on. Also, it will help them have something to share with the people back home. It's a culture that they can post on Facebook, they can tweet about, they can have their Instagram pictures, and people will see that they're hanging out. What are they doing? They're going to see live bands play, bands that are on your record label. So local record labels, some of the benefits and what you can do is you can assist artists in getting publicity. This is really important. A lot of artists, they know how to make music. They don't necessarily know how to publicize themselves. And so I think it's really important that you focus on that being able to help artists get publicity. You can help them secure venues. You can find different venues that maybe the artists haven't thought of before. House parties, charity events, different local restaurants that have spaces where they can play that they may not have thought of before. Also, you provide a recording facility. One of the most important things about War Artist Records is the home front, the recording studio that you guys have, which is fully functioning. You can record vocal albums, you can record rock albums, you can record acoustic albums, and you can do all of these things in studio and give these artists what they need on your label, and that's really important. Also, you can produce physical copies of music. Now, I know that you guys don't have a printing press yourselves, but you have the avenues and you have connections with people who know how to make physical CDs and digital distribution. Now, any band can post something to Bandcamp or to Pure Volume or some sort of digital distribution, but you having the avenues to connect them with iTunes, to connect them with Spotify, to connect them with Amazon, to connect them with people who can make physical copies of their CDs that they can then sell at shows is an invaluable thing only you can offer as that local record label. Also, you can plan events to help these bands fundraise. Sometimes bands, they want to record, but they don't have any money. Or they want to buy a new guitar because they smashed one last week in the heat of the moment. And they can't because they don't have the money. But you can help them to fundraise to be able to make the money that they need to be successful as a band. And that's another thing that you offer that they may not be able to really offer themselves. War Artist is and can be a powerful influencer in the community. You can help them have the influence that they would not be able to have otherwise. But in order for you to do that, you need to increase your influence, because if you're not influential, then you can't help them to become influential in the community. And so how do you become influential in the community? The answer is simple. It's one word, but it's in multiple areas that you have to focus on this word. That word is networking. And you have to network on the local and the regional level. So on the local level, you're going to start out by networking with local artists. Obviously, you want artists in Rexburg to want to be on the War Artist record label, because if they are, then you can have compilation albums. You can set up shows easier because you have multiple artists, some to open, some to headline, and vice versa in different situations. We also want you to network with local music venues. When you talk to these music venues and they start to know your name and your artists that you've talked to before, then they'll know how they can be benefited through having your artists play, because they know that you influence the students, like we talked about before, know the people on your record label, so they'll come see these shows, which will bring business to that restaurant or that venue that sells other things or has other events there from time to time. They'll know that people will come there. It'll become a spot they'll want to be at. Also, you want to talk to local businesses, okay? Because when you're talking to local businesses, you can get them to sponsor events. So if you can have the local grocery store sponsor an event and put their name on a little wall and have people taking photos on that wall during the event. College kids love to get free professional photos taken of themselves, and this is something that we can take advantage of during these fundraising events. Also, networking with regional artists and regional music venues, because you don't only have to focus on Rexburg. You can go to Idaho Falls, you can go to Pocatello, you can go to Provo, you can go to Vegas, you can go wherever you want. But if you want to start branching out to those places, you need to start networking with those venues and those artists so that they know they have an opportunity, if they're artists, to be recorded and to be publicized. And if they're a venue, that they know they have opportunities to get bands from out of town. Everyone loves an out-of-town band. Also, the key to getting noticed is branding. And there are two components, the two C's of branding, which is to be coherent and consistent. Your brand has to be coherent. So you're a war artist. So your brand is going to be something that represents art and the dedication to it. So if you have a flying horse, with a flying unicorn, a Pegasus unicorn, it's not going to make sense. So the brand that we're going to make for you is going to be coherent. It's going to be down to earth. And it's going to be consistent. Your business cards, your stationery, your email stationery, any logos or design that you have at events and venues, that's going to be consistent all across the board. And the keys to getting noticed is having presence at events locally and regionally. And lastly, I think community service, volunteering, charity work, these things are really important because that gets you noticed in the community, and the community realizes that you want to give back. You don't just want to take and say, give us your venues, but you want to give back to that community. I know that as War Artist focuses on this local and regional networking and how to become an influencer in the community, they can do a lot of good. And that's something that I believe in very strongly, and I hope that you we'll be able to work through this and be able to be successful. Thank you.